Yeah! Champions again! Champions again! Champions again! Ole, ole!
Hail, hail, folks! Good evening and welcome along to the Monday night show of the Endless Celts Podcast, the home of the back-to-back SPL champions, the famous Glasgow Celtic. My name's Anthony. Delighted to be back in the host chair tonight and joined by two absolute legends in the Celtic podcasting fraternity, the deadly duo themselves, Stephen and Franny. How we doing, guys?
Unbelievable, my fine sir. Loving them glasses, by the way, and loving the top you're rocking. You got it very early on, Anthony. I do love it. Champions again. What else can we say?
Well, I mean,
Top of the
my
tree.
missus was off the day doing she had the bank holiday off the day. The place was closed, so she made a wee trip up to Livy Centre and got me a wee present. So yes, sporting it tonight on the first podcast after we officially secured the title. It's got to be done. How are you, Franny?
That's the word of the night, Anthony. Champion. Champion.
It's all good, my man. It's all good. And welcome along to everyone in the comments as well. Stephen and Franny are going to be on top of that tonight. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend celebrating the boys securing yet another league championship. And that's exactly what we're going to be getting stuck into in our topics discussion tonight. And of course, a big thanks to our show sponsor, Sharna, terrace-inspired clothing range, and the bus. The lead conductor of the bus is joining us in the comments tonight. I hope you're well, mate. Looking forward to listening to that fantastic interview with Kenny Dalglish. The bus just keeps rolling, and listen, we never stop. That's just what we do. So welcome along, guys, and we can't wait to get started tonight. But Stephen, go to come to yourself first, mate. Obviously, we'll get into the sort of performance, the goals, and everything else, and all the other talking points in due course in the show, and of course the celebrations as well. But first of all, no matter what MD says, it's the bread and butter every year that we go for. And yesterday we secured yet another league championship. How are you feeling?
Feeling top of the tree. Top of the tree. We're Celtic are in the SPFL, and we're Celtic are Michael Beale's made up league in his own mind. We've won both leagues. I just think for me, it is the bread and butter. It's the thing we all look for at the start of the season. Obviously, if we come on to European football, I'm sure we'll talk about it. But to keep that kind of rolling, to keep that momentum, the relentless attitude that Postecoglou's put into that team, and I think over the last couple of weeks, especially, you've seen more resilience in the team. You've seen more determination, more passion, more guts, and yeah, we've been on the end of maybe 30 minutes at Tynecastle where they were on top of us, but we weathered that storm and. Sign of champions is grinding out a result, and we've done that in the end. But yeah, I'm feeling great. I'm happy. I'm over the moon. I'm just delighted. It's two in a row, back to back, like it says in the back of your top. And the celebrations we've seen yesterday after the game, the players were getting emotional. Postecoglou himself got emotional, and there's something to enjoy. It's something to savor, because I know for me, I'm privileged that I've seen more or less success within Celtic Football Club since I've started really following them when I can remember them. Obviously, when I was younger, people experienced the dark times of the 90s, but they're fairly repaying the fans back now with some fantastic league victories and trebles after trebles, and we're chasing records, we're chasing world records, and Postecoglou's the man, and so is this club. Unbelievable.
It certainly is, mate. And like you say, this team just seem to be determined to smash all records before them. But Franny, Stephen made a good point there as well. Obviously, I see your thoughts on the title win on its own. But of course, we're perhaps just about old enough to remember the times when it was Rangers dominating in the 90s, obviously spending other people's money. But, Celtic, we've endured that, and we've more than earned these good times, as Stephen alluded to. But, that was our 11th SPL title in 12 seasons. I think it was our 17th in 21 since the formation of the turn of the century. But you have to say we're used to this now, but we never tire of it.
Oh no, totally. It's coming a wee bit of the norm, Anthony. But like you say, me slightly just a couple of years older. I can remember a good part of the 90s. Maybe didn't really totally take it all in, not constantly winning leagues. Obviously, I was only 4 year old when obviously won it in 88. first trophy I can remember. Well, what I can properly remember is when it was obviously Tommy Burns' Scottish Cup win. My dad always tell me how big that was. Again, I was just a lad and never really taken it properly, and then said plenty of times how I was there with my dad as well when we stopped at 10 and seeing how it was properly sinking in then. But since sort of, certainly the millennium, like the titles, even if you take away the 4 when Rangers would be like Rangers and didn't count them for some random reason, we've still won ridiculous amounts of league titles. Like the dominance is absolutely frightening. And like Hugh even said, I think he said at the start,
a family affair tonight. Lindsay's in the chat.
he certainly said it in Super Scoreboard once. This is, it's like the pendulum is will swing from side to side, and I mean it swung towards Rangers a couple seasons ago, but it must be broke because it seems to be staying at the Greenside Park at Glasgow a lot, this pendulum. And you've got things like Dave King's comments saying that they'll fold like a deck of cards when we win the league and that, and it's like the polar opposite.
It's a made up pendulum, Franny. There's nothing.
It's stuck at one side. It's broke. Somebody needs to get in there and fix it. But like this title win is absolutely, like, it's mad how more impressive it is in last season, because obviously we were in a bit of a mess last season. Postecoglou came in under the whole Eddie Howe debacle, if you like. We didn't know what we were getting. We were a wee bit naive, a bit ignorant to Postecoglou. He had a massive rebuild, and everyone spoke about the rebuild and stuff, but he managed to claw back the title at the first time he asked, and managed to pick up a League Cup in the way. And then this season, I mean, if we didn't win the treble, we're something seriously wrong here. But to then go in his second season, he's going to what looks like he's a shoe-in for 5 trophies out of 6. And the numbers this season, I think we're on 95 points this season, with the potential to break the points record, the goal scoring record. I think the numbers speak for themselves. For this league campaign, it's up there, like one league defeat and 2 draws. Am I right? Madness, absolute madness. And I just like I say, don't get tired of this. You can't get tired of winning. Folk might say it's boring. That's people who obviously have a different persuasion in that, but you can't ever get bored of winning. I'm sorry, it's amazing, and just enjoy it, revel in it, just take in every bit of Celtic content you can now. It's brilliant.
Do you remember when Rangers won their COVID trophy and Connor Goldson said the next season the players weren't hungry enough? It's like come on. You're there to win leagues, you're there to win league titles, and as you said, if you get bored of this, you're in the wrong profession. And I know people may say, like, you're winning all the time, does not tire, but like Alfie said, these feelings you have to cherish how you feel as a Celtic supporter, and you hold it close, because them moments of celebration, me, myself, and my granda, my brother, and my granny, who watched the game with me, and it's stuff that stay with you for the rest of your life. Do you know what I mean? Growing up through these moments, and to be fair, as I said, not much in the 90s for me, but I've only really known success, so I'm really cherishing it, because you, in the back of your mind somewhere, you're thinking maybe, just maybe, sometimes it might not go our way, and that's the way football. But at the minute, we're the top team in town, we're the top team in Scottish domestic football, and it's unbelievable.
Well, I think that's you make some brilliant points there, boys. But one of the things that I want to focus on is just the fact of the promise that Ange made when he first took over, that he said he would do everything he could to help get the club back to a successful front. He more than did that last season, Stephen. But we remember what he said on Flag Day last year. He says we're going to have a good summer, but we'll be back bigger and better because we never stop. Of course, that's where his famous phrase just it kind of came full circle there. But I think you even look at today, I don't know if you've seen it, Stephen, but the Clyde One panel have been putting up things on their social media from, back at the start of the season, where 6 out of the 7 panellists, only exception being Mark Wilson, former Celtic player, all backed Rangers to win the league. But if you look at the mainstream press in the country and the sort of sports sound team as well, the overwhelming majority all backed, Giovanni Van Bronckhorst Rangers, it would have been at that time, to win the title back for Rangers. But it seemed like Postecoglou's message, despite him being on the ball pretty much from the word go, his warning that we were coming back and we were going to be bigger and better, just didn't seem to get heeded. And it has to be said, he himself will be looking for improving again next year. It's just the nature of the man.
I mean, say to be fair, it was that the naivety that surrounds the Scottish press. They talk about Postecoglou, the fact that he came from Australia, he managed in different countries. They were naive to it. They thought he was going to fail. And that video going around today, I think it was by Tam Selleck on Twitter. It was shared on our podcast page. The video of Alan Brazil going like, "Who is this guy?" And he'll be a great manager, won't he? Being sarcastic. No, that really riles me up. So I mean, that's so ignorant. It's so disrespectful.
To be fair, we were something like that day, Stephen. I think.
But to be fair, Fanny, these are professional pundits. You think there'd be more class in it. They look into it more, delve into it more. But no, they're off the cuff of these remarks. And Postecoglou from that first day when he done the media press conferences, the fans and both media. Obviously, Don Mackay was there, which was a different issue, but he's been honest with us from day one. Started last season really, really poorly. We stuck with him. He stuck with us, and it's just came to fruition at the minute. And the way he said that last season, he doesn't say something if he doesn't mean it. So we were going to come back bigger and better. Like this season, we've developed so many different ways of playing. As I said at the start, we're more resilient. We're more defensively sound. We're more like a collective unit as a team. Last season, it was still bits and starts, and injuries were happening, hamstring injuries. You were playing Moffat on the left and Abada for the middle sometimes, and it just felt like at points you were never getting a solid run in the team, or your first starting 11 with us Kyogo in the second part of the season. Giakoumakis card is through, and I just look at it and I look at the squad this season, and it's so exciting. It's youthful. There's experience mixed in, and all the players are buying into what he says. There's not one what you can call a bad egg, I don't think, in that dressing room, or otherwise he'll have them out. And he's standing by that team. And I've seen the wee clip of him doing the speech with Jerry McCulloch in the Celtic way, talking about enjoy this moment, celebrate it, and all that type of stuff. He does it for the fans. He's so selfless. When he was talking on Sky Sports about his family, he was nearly in tears. He was emotional. We don't understand from sitting here talking about Celtic. We don't understand the work he puts in, the stuff he has to go through, the sacrifices he has to make. And yeah, he's a manager and he's expected to do it, but he's took us to a different level. And I look at previous managers before him, and I've never been so excited to watch the Celtic game. Like, we could be playing Sterling Albion 10 times in a row, and I'd be up bouncing. I'd want to see us play. That's just the mentality he's putting me in. I'm just loving watching this squad and growing, developing, and the way we're attacking all last season. As I said there, we're defending better now. We're seeing through games, which we never really did before, and I think that's a credit to him. And I know we're going to come on to some of the post-match celebrations, so I'll hold tight about that. What my other opinion is of Postecoglou at the moment, but yeah, he's an absolute icon for me. He's a legend already.
Yeah, I think he's certainly already put his name in the echelons of the history of the club in 2 short seasons with the promise of more to come. We'll obviously get on to the celebrations and whatnot a bit later on, but we'll focus on for a little while just on the game itself that proved to be the league decider. It's never an easy place to go to, Tynecastle. It's a fever pitch atmosphere. The crowd are right down on the pitch. It's always a bit of a pressure cooker, especially now that they've cut Celtic's allocation to the absolute bare minimum. For what it's worth, I missed the first half yesterday through work, but been sort of trying to catch some of it back and just to kind of get more of a feel for the game. It certainly looked first 20 minutes that Hearts, were very much given their all. Celtic took a while to get going. We'll obviously touch on the VAR incident as well, but in the end, 2 magnificent goals. That sort of, yes, it was in the box. Yeah, there's it is the cross in, but it's some of the off the ball movement first for Kyogo and then from O as well. There was a difference on the day. One of our favourite scores, a hassle-free 2-0, and it's the result that sealed the title.
It's 2-0, but for a wee while it wasn't hassle-free, Anthony. But the first half, it was Hearts came out the box, came out flying. But what I will say is Joe Hart had nothing to do in that 20-25 minutes. I actually don't think he really had a save to make in the whole match. Certainly not one of note, but I mean, you've got to credit Hearts. They've come out. They've still got aspirations to finish third, so they've got stuff to play for. And I imagine Hearts fan base, Hearts players, certainly Stephen Naismith would be drilling into them saying, I don't think any player would want a team to come and win the league at their stadium, regardless who it is, but especially folk like, especially folk from a Hearts persuasion and guys like Stephen Naismith who had a career with Rangers and things like that. So he'll be saying to them, look, you didn't want teams coming up and winning the trophy at your stadium. Let's delay it. Let's not be the ones that they're having a party at. So certainly Hearts would be up for it. You're bang on about the stadium. Whatever you want to say about Hearts, it's a great away stadium because you're right on the team and that. Like, you're so close to the pitch. And then, like you say, the fans, the allocation, Hearts have reduced allocation. That's well within their right. They're obviously, although not yesterday, but in the main, they are selling out their ground. So to the extent they can justify it. But it wasn't a great start. I mean, sort of for their last 5-6 performances have been of that ilk. We've not really been at our free-flowing best, I would say. But what I think you've got to compliment the team is, like, I'm not going to sit here and say Ange can only play one way. I think that's a wee bit dig at the guy can play different ways. It's just you can see with the goals it's at, like, we've seen that goal so many times, and it just shows even when we're not playing to our optimum prime, so to speak, it's stick to the principles, stick to what we know is easy, stick to the sim. Not that goal is easy, because it takes a lot of movement, it takes a lot of work in the training ground, but essentially that's probably the norm for Celtic, is that type of goal. So it's stick to your principles, go back to basics, and you will get your rewards. Believe you'll get the rewards. And like you say, it takes a movement. Like Hatate's movement for the first one is brilliant, and then Aaron Bhoys' movement for the second one, it's just runners from midfield. It's maybe doing it a wee bit quicker than building the play up, but it's the 2 goals. It just, like you say, we'll get into the VAR thing. That has changed the game. Granted, Hearts still came out the second half and played pretty well, and they were a good defensive unit at the time, but you just felt with 10 men, Hearts were never going to be able to keep up that intensity, and we would then get a proper grip of the game, and it was just a matter of being patient and believing that the way we were playing it would work, and evidently it did. And it was just, once the first goal went in, there was never really got to be any question marks over what was happening on yesterday. So it was a title party just waiting to happen.
It certainly was. And Stephen, I'm sure you and your granddad have been watching it, as you always do, back home. What was your own thoughts on it? Your thoughts on the goals, the performance, and just obviously I'll come to you. But once you dig that, I'll kind of come to you about the VAR incident as well.
Well, to be fair, Mark Kearney saying that you savaged the superstore. Money get into Celtic already.
I'm a sucker for a bit of Celtic merchandise, Mark. What can I say?
I mean, to be fair, like the first 20 minutes, their Japanese player Oda was giving Greg Taylor. He was giving Greg Taylor a fucking horrible time. He was all over him. He was turning him inside out at times, and he looked quite decent. So I was happy when he got took off after their player got sent off. But yeah, I mean, as a spectacle, like as Franny alluded to, it was one of them games. It just feels like the end of the season. We're trying to get to the end of the season, just finish off these games, get through them, and win them however we can. Maybe as well, it was the pressure of, if you win, you get the title. Maybe the players had that in the back of their mind, but it was, for me, like Kyogo and there were two fantastic goals. Let's be fair. And Rio Tate played as a great part in it, and Kyogo with the wee touch, and the keeper nearly got it, but it just trickled in. And then I was so happy for him to get on the score sheet. He looked an absolute machine when he came on. See, when he comes on like that and makes an impact like that, he looks frightening, in my opinion. He looks really good. He has pace, he's got power, he's energetic, he has a great first touch, and he took that goal as much as in the Akimakis mode that might be, the first touch finish. We just poke round to the keeper. But I mean, Hearts, let's give them credit. Stephen Naismith, we all know his history. He had them riled up, he had them ready for us, and they didn't want us to come there and take over their patch and make it an easy victory. So they were all for it. I thought Maeda, he was hopeless yesterday. The wee lad Hill at right, I think it was right back. He didn't give him a sniff. some of their players, like Josh Dinelli, again, getting in behind a few times, and Shankland, he was all right. But I just think, Jed Thomas said it, before the sending off happened, we were starting to come into the game more and more. So you're expecting them goals to come, and thankfully they did, and thankfully there was a party atmosphere. Just to come to the comments as well, Kevin 14, always got real potential, great finish. Mark Kearney, definitely a lot tension in the team. I think we took control when we started building up from the right instead of the left. We took pressure off Kobayashi and Taylor, who were exposed 100%. I think that's where that wee lad Oda, he was a live wire for them. But yeah, it's just getting over the line in these games. Anthony's the most important. Tynecastle's poison. We've all seen what happened there before. Naismith tried to chop down Jota. You know what I mean? Madness, absolute madness. But and then Ange was going like that. I thought that was quite funny.
Brilliant,
but
absolutely brilliant.
It was great, and I think Monty sums it up here. We find a way, and we seem to more times than that, especially in domestic football, and just a great win, and just to see the crowd at the end just lap up the atmosphere and lap up the players, and it was incredible. It really was. Like, I have no words, mate. I'm just absolutely overjoyed at this team. I really am. I'm so happy.
Stephen, I don't know about you, mate. Stephen, obviously, I've never seen the first half, but I can remember when, like, I watched the game with Ross Furry. We seem to watch all the big games together. I can remember, I think he was on with you, Stephen, a couple of weeks ago, and he was talking about all the trebles and things like that. Me and him had seemed to be in the same company for, but I think it was around about 25-30 minutes. McGregor taking the ball on the run just down the right-hand side.
Mm-hmm.
We bet 3 or 4 Hearts players. I just turned to Ross, and Ross was like, "Oh, that's brilliant." And I just turned to him, and I was like, that's a bit like the 2-1 game at Ibrox, where he just went on that run, and obviously Tom Roberts got the goal off the back. It just had that feeling where McGregor was like, I'm taking the ball on the run here. I'm showing that we're getting in this game, and that obviously I'm not saying he's just running for the sake of running, but it was kind of that feel where he's like, right, I'm taking this on a run here. I'm getting everybody ways, and I just think that was a wee momentum change for us when he done that.
It was almost like, as well, when he made that run, it was like he was taking the game by the throat, really. So, because we were under the cosh for a while, like, and not saying we were in big trouble. There was no shots on target till the second half, so we weren't in massive trouble. But it was we were struggling to get passes and all together. And I think, as you said, that changed it, because then we were getting more confident, and Ralston was making the right passes, and Starfelt was starting to link up with the midfield. And I just thought it was from there, 35 minutes onwards, I thought we were in total control, and then obviously the sending off, which we'll come on to. But yeah, as I said, I'm happy, man. There's no other words. Like, they look happy. That famous one.
That's a quote from one of your favourite Celtic players in the SPL. I know you'll always fly your flag for Mr. Porte, Stephen. But I'll come straight back to you just with regards to the red card incident. It's obviously it was a big talking point at half time, especially, and Andy Walker seemed to be hell bent on making it the moment that changed the game and whatnot. But as some of the boys in the comments have already seen, the game was already starting to swing in Celtic's favour in any case. Personally, I hadn't seen it in real time. And I know, even looking on social media, even a lot of the Celtic support were split about it. I have to say, looking at it purely for the fact that it's Dyson Maeda that the ball was played to, who was, clearly with his pace was going to, reach the ball. For me, I'm struggling to see the outcry about it, if I'm being perfectly honest. By the laws of the game, it's straight red all day long, as far as I'm concerned.
I mean, Andy Walker, since he made the comments about VAR, has been firmly put back in his cage. He's turned into he was an absolute dick. He's turned into an even bigger dick, talking about the game's been ruined, the momentum's been changed, and pitch like that, and making it sound like Hearts were on the ascendancy and they were giving us all sorts of problems, which wasn't the case after we kind of rid that storm of early pressure. But see, to be honest with you, I wouldn't have sent the fella off. I wouldn't have. He's coming from the right hand side, right? And I know when obviously you see the still image and he's ahead, and then Kyogo and I think Jota's run in and they're a wee bit behind, and fair enough. It was Atkinson that got sent off. I think it was, Cochrane. Cochrane, yeah.
Cochrane.
I mean, it was a yellow and no more for me. And I get the whole laws of the game argument, but if that would happen against us, I'd be fucking fuming. And it brings it back to the whole VAR debate, doesn't it? I mean, you have to have consistency in all sorts of games. We've seen in the Rangers game, Connor Goldson ends up trying to pedigree Duke in the box, and no penalty kick was given. That nothing even was given.
It was a free kick.
And he tried to handball it too, which was quite funny. But it's incredible. And then you get that the Hearts player being sent off, and it doesn't add up. Nothing adds up for this VAR. Nothing goes right. And I looked at it. I've looked at it a few times, right? And I'll be honest, Maeda to score from that opportunity by himself, probably 0, because I don't think he would have. The cross into Kyogo, even for me, not being harsh on him, but it's a bit iffy. We've seen him smack them out of the park a few times, so I don't know where it would have led. In my head, obviously, you're hoping it would have been a goal, but I just think it was a shambolic decision. And I know the whole laws of the game, as I said before, but sometimes you have to take it into a sporting occasion. You know what I mean? It's like he ran over to that monitor and came back and couldn't wait to get the whistle in his mouth just to send the wee lad off. It wasn't going to make a big impact on us. He was a left back. Wasn't if it was like Oda or
he gave a yellow card to start with, though.
I know, but that's what I mean. And then he blew the whistle, chalked it off, and do you know what I mean? I just don't think. I thought it was harsh. It was a shambles of a decision. An absolute joke. It was more a coming together for me than anything, and I've watched it a few times. And that's my opinion on it. Like,
yeah, fair enough, Stephen. That's what it's all about. What about yourself, Franny?
I'm kind of in Stephen's corner here. Like, it's, I mean, I wouldn't go as far as saying it's shambolic, because I understand the red card under the rules and stuff, and I'm not saying you should really be considering the player going in, be it Maeda, with his pace that he's probably got to get away. I don't know if that can really come into the equation, but it's maybe does come into the referee's thinking, saying, well, it's Maeda, we know how fast he is. But I think if you look at the stills, I mean, me and Ross said at the time, it's a yellow card. We were totally comfy with it being a yellow card. Even if after looking at it on the monitor, me and Ross still said we'd be comfy with it staying a yellow card. I had no issues with it. Like Stephen said, Cochrane knows Maya deserves, obviously, but you see, he's trying to get in a decent defensive position where he's not tripped him up. I mean, there is contact, but he's not tripped him up. It is a coming together. But when you see the contact, if you look at the still, the ball's about 3 foot above Maeda in the air. Do we really know Maeda's got to control that? I suppose you can't really take that into consideration again when making your decision. You've got to see. But I think when you look at the still and the balls, as I say, a good 2-3 foot above Maeda, I just don't know how it can be a red card. And as I say, I was comfy with the yellow at the time. I think I understand why under the laws of the game, which sounds stupid when I'm saying I think I'm comfy with being a yellow, but understand with the laws of the game that I can understand why it's a red. But for me, the whole VAR, I thought VAR was a clear and obvious error. I don't think a yellow card there is a clear and obvious error of that decision. I think the referee's called it as he's seen fit, and I was as I said, I was happy with him saying it was a yellow card. We all know as soon as he goes to the monitor, he's changing his mind because he's gone over there with a bit of self-doubt. It really referees stick to the original decision. But nah, for me it was a yellow card, Anthony. I'm happy with it.
To be fair, there's a big difference between what happened with Goldson and Duke than Maeda and Cochrane.
Oh, yeah,
two chalk tees.
Well,
so, I mean,
that's control of the ball at the time.
Yeah,
Maeda, isn't he?
100%. And Mark Kearney comes in. I wonder if any Rangers pause their question Aberdeen's non-penalty yesterday. He goes back and says,
very much doubt it now.
Patrick McLaughlin, 52 games without conceding a penalty, Mark. That's crazy. And then the Boise bus. There's your best mate. Russell's in. Spot on, Bradley. Spot on.
Oh, brilliant, boys.
I love him,
as I say, that is what it's all about, opinions. And I'm moving on to one of your other favourite players, Stephen, but I'm going to come to Franny first this time. Couple of players I want to single out for praise, Franny. First one, purely for the fact that it was, a milestone occasion for him yesterday. Some great footage of him in the build-up as well. On Celtic TV and Instagram and stuff, going over some of his best saves during his time at Celtic. But yesterday, goalkeeper Joe Hart made his 100th appearance for the club, signed it off with a League One and a clean sheet, which you can't really ask for much more at a place like Tynecastle. But he's been a fantastic signing for the club, of course. Like every goalkeeper, one or two hairy moments, but over the piece, I think he's been a terrific acquisition with all the experience that he brings as well from his time down south. And I'm not sure which one of the boys that put it up in the group chat last night, but that's an incredible statistic that if Celtic, do the business on the 3rd of June and complete a world record 8th treble, he'll be joining the company of Kenny Dalglish, of all people, today. Russell could have told us that right enough. Of only 2 players that have won both the league championship and 2 domestic cup competitions north and south of the border. That's no bad company to be in.
It certainly is no bad company to be in. And probably a couple of seasons ago, Joe Hart would have only been a dream for him to kind of be in that sort of company, because he's seen it was for choice at Spurs, I believe. Pretty much told him if he could find a club, he'd be out the door. And Celtic was a club that he found. Probably had other offers, Joe Hart, but maybe it was not to be number one. I'm not saying he was coming up to Celtic to be number one. I don't think Postecoglou will tell anybody they're guaranteed to be playing every week, but it probably came up knowing there's a good chance. I mean, you just had to look at me and Stephen's best pal the season before at Barcas. It was as much as Joe Hart maybe hadn't played a lot of football in the last year or so before he came to Celtic. I reckon any of us in this podcast would have probably fancied their chances if we got a call to go to Parkhead to be the goalkeeper. And so for £1 million, you could argue he's been, pound for pound, you could argue he's been possibly his best signing when you think value for money. And like to get a guy off his experience, like the 75 England caps and stuff, played at World Cup, played at European Championship, played in the Champions League, played at the top of the EPL where he's won it. To buy that for £1 million is absolutely frightening. And yeah, he hadn't had a great sort of maybe turned into a wee bit of a journeyman who was floating to like Torino, Burnley, Spurs. And you're like, well, is it just one of these players coming up for the Premier League just for a wee swan song and you just don't know what you're going to get? Because I think if you really look at it, if you look back, there's no many he's signed on a permanent basis that turn out to be decent signings. Like your Ljungberg, say that the world, even Janino, a World Cup winner in that. They just, for some reason or not, they didn't work out. Obviously, you've got exceptions in guys like Bellamy, but they were obviously loan signings. Robbie Keane, they're a wee bit, I wouldn't really count them, consider them loans, but Joe Hart, I think he's been absolutely brilliant for us. You see it in the way he talks. The guy's got great experience. So I'm not just want guys in the dressing room for all their experience. They need to be like, we can't just do a team of James McCarthy's where he's just I think, and they're just, it must be a good character in there. But Joe Hart clearly is a good character, plenty of experience, and he's doing it on the park as well, Anthony. So you can't really grumble. Do I think we could do better? Of course we could. Of course we could do better in Joe Hart. But I think if Joe Hart's at number one next season, I am totally comfy with that. Absolutely. I wouldn't be looking to be trying to get rid of him. Like maybe try to sort of introduce that. Is it OLE or whatever it is? I don't know how far off he is, but I think we need to be careful in another Barcas situation where somebody leads you down the garden path and just goes at the 11th hour like Fraser Forster did, and meantime you let Craig Gordon go and you're up shit creek essentially. So I would be keeping Joe Hart on side as best as I can, especially if like maybe try and get a keeper in that exactly. I mean, you heard it in his interview yesterday. He is trying to learn, but again, he is 36. It's going to be hard to teach that sort of a sweeper keeper into him. Just talking for the sake of talking. But I would be careful with trying to get rid of Joe Hart. There seems to be a lot of folk that when you're asking who would you strengthen, and Joe Hart as a name, I mean, I've said it myself that I wouldn't be adverse to it, but I think he just seems to just do things or say things that I'm like, well, I think we need to be careful how we treat this guy, and we don't want it. Where we are now as a team, you could wreck that big time with just taking a gamble on the keeper.
For what it's worth, I would agree with you on that, Franny. And like you say, he's been a terrific acquisition over the piece. And Stephen, I know you're not his biggest fan. To put it bluntly, I don't know if you're still, holding a grudge that he usurped your favourite Barkas from the number one position. But it's, of course, as I keep saying, it's all about opinions. But I think Joe Hart probably typifies a lot of the kind of Postecoglou signings around that time when he first came in. Obviously, even you could even say it models Ange himself, where he's having to come up with something to prove, and obviously you look at where we were back when Joe signed on the dotted line. We were not in a great place. We needed someone obviously to come in, help Callum McGregor, settle into his new role as captain as well, and get that winning mentality back within the club, and just make it part of our DNA again. And having a guy like Joe Hart in there who's been there and done it all down south must be a massive help in the dressing room. And you can see that as well, the way he conducts himself on the pitch as well, the way he talks to his back four, and just sort of commands his area. I know you're always saying you look for better, but purely for this segment, I'm sure you'll appreciate the contribution Joe's made to this back-to-back title-winning Celtic side.
I mean, you can't argue with what he's done for the team, and you firing shots at me, saying I'm his biggest fan. I like Joe Hart. I like him, and I've always made the case we could do better, and I forever will do that. But for me, his experience as a former English number one, over 75 caps, winning the Golden Glove in the Premier League, English Premier League, FA Cups, whatever it may be, I think what he's brought is invaluable. You made a great point. You talked about McGregor. Yeah, I think McGregor probably could have done the road by himself with no help, but having someone like him to lean on is fantastic. And the way he speaks about Celtic, and he just wants to enjoy these moments. He's had it before in Manchester City, but I believe, in my opinion, he knows this is on a bigger scale than he's ever seen before in his life. I mean, the Etihad are lucky to fill their seats, and we're bringing 10,000 fans out the Celtic way on a Sunday evening. Do you know what I mean? Just celebrating and having the laugh of the players and chanting, singing songs and that. But yeah, he's been incredible, and I watched some of that highlight reel. He's made some fantastic saves, and he's also made some clangers. But what keepers don't do that? It's built in them to have a mistake. We've seen it with a Barkas situation, hologram hands, and he's having the season of his life in Holland with Utrecht. So that's surprising. But I like Joe Hart, but I think this would be his final season with Celtic. I don't think he'll be here next season. I think you'll see him. I don't want to. I'll let you come up to him. I think you'll see Joe Hart just quietly hanging up his gloves with us, maybe go back down to England for a year in the Championship or something, and kind of doing it that way. But I think the reason why I want to upgrade the goalkeeping position, I've watched Hart a few times in Europe, and I just think he looks a bit slow. He doesn't react, for me, how he should react to certain situations. He seems a bit off at his positioning sometimes, and league games it's fine because you can get away with that. Do you know what I mean? We're always in possession most of the games, and I mean, even the Tavernier free kick, in my opinion, I think he could have done better bringing it back to that. But it's no slight on him. He's been a great servant, like a bit like Craig Gordon. We got him from England when he was injured, rehabbed him. He came back and had an amazing career with us. He's still playing in his 40s, which is incredible. Joe Hart, journeyman, like Franny said, kind of bouncing from pillar to post. West Ham, Torino, Burnley, Spurs, always like second, third choice keeper. So I don't understand why there's a gripe that maybe, just maybe, we can do something better. And I do want to say as well, at the moment, we're 69 live in the comments in the chat, which is fantastic. Wow. So if you want to all hit the thumbs up, that'll be great. Get us up to 60 likes, whatever, and share us and subscribe and share our page far and wide. I didn't mean that to rhyme. That was fantastic. But just to come to the comments here, let me see. Ross is in quite early. You're ours. Called that. No way, Stephen. Grass isn't always greener, but it's not like we've got a Joe Hart who's going to come into his prime. We've got Joe just when he's coming out of it. Not sure if you could get Stephen in a phone box, so he put some beef on us. Ross again, your arse. But I think like in terms of it, I'm looking at it going, we can do better, and I don't think there's an issue with that. I really don't.
Would you promote from within, or would you be looking to go into the market if that's the way you would go down?
Well, I mean, you seen Milan do that with Donnarumma. He was their first choice when he was like 17, 18. If Olawami is as good as people say, I know he's on loan at Cork City, I believe. If he's as good as people say, then give him a go, give him a chance, and get him trained up. But that brings it back to the point. Experience needs to be there. I'd be looking to sign another kind of goalkeeper with that kind of level of experience at Joe Hart, but maybe not the same age, a wee bit younger, get a couple more years out of him, and we'll see where it goes. Because you look throughout our history, I mean, Arthur Boric, Fraser Foster, Craig Gordon, go way back to Big Rob Douglas. No, he wasn't many people's favourite, but they all done the job, and we eventually upgraded on them, and I believe we can do the same with Joe.
Yeah, it's fair enough, mate. And Franny, just want to touch on another couple of players who had a big contribution yesterday. It was obviously their assisting goal for the second goal that wrapped the game up, and we knew that was it. The league was going to be secured. Players that have come in for a lot of praise this season. A lot of it, most of it, all correctly so, in my opinion. But the last couple of weeks, maybe came in for a little bit of criticism. I'm talking, of course, about my favourite player, Big Daddy Cool, Aaron Moy himself, and our January signing who's isn't Giacomakis' replacement, but naturally when one goes out and one comes in, it's always going to happen that comparisons are made.
What is this? You got your family on here on purpose to comment on something?
MD knows Lindsay she's as Celtic daft as me, if no dafter. Knows her stuff, and she's some lassie. But it's always good to have you in the chat, Gerald. You're more than welcome anytime. But what about yourself, Franny? Your thoughts on the two players? They're obviously opposite ends of their career. Aaron Moy, perhaps you could argue, is this season's Joe Hart. Came in, bit to prove, perhaps forgotten about, but he's came in, cemented his place in that team. Obviously, he's picked up an injury, and he's slowly but surely coming back into it. I personally thought when he came off the bench at Hampden, it kind of stopped Rangers' momentum a little bit. Last week, I think the term I used was his game management in the group chat. It says he's not doing anything flashy, but just doing the simple stuff and breaking up the play and frustrating Rangers. And to an extent, I thought he did much the same yesterday as well, just 10 yards further up the park, and terrific assist for the second goal.
Sorry, I've just seen Monty's comment, and I think so did Stephen.
I'm not sure.
Monty's no chance. I know, Lindsay. Monty's no chance. So Moy, I think the last couple of games has been the Moy that sort of played, or the Moy we've seen post World Cup, where he came on, like you said, game management. He kept the ball, kept it tidy, just kept us ticking over, always showing. Albeit yesterday, I thought he was a wee bit sharper and making more attacking runs and stuff like that. So it was, for me, it was a bit like the Moy, as I say, post World Cup, where he came on, seen the game out for us, and was shown for it. Would always be comfortable on the ball, just kept it ticking over, kept the momentum going, kept us. It gave us another few seconds on the ball, a wee rest, if you like. I mean, the Moy after just before the World Cup, and certainly after the World Cup, was, I mean, guys were talking about him as being Player of the Year. It just shows you the type of player he was. That's actually class. That is brilliant, Mark Kearney. That is fantastic.
Oh my God.
Brilliant.
Oh.
So, like, the Boy post pre-World Cup, he was dominating games for us. He was a key player. He was one of the first names on the team sheet. Like, the semi-finals was one of his big games. How good he was in that. Obviously, the last Rangers game at Parkhead, he was an absolute passenger for it. I think we all understood him being in the game, but it was an absolute passenger. No, I'm not going to sit here and say I was a massive fan of signing Moy. I think I'm on record as saying I was one of the underwhelmed category.
Oh,
I mean
that phrase.
I know at
Where
the
do
time,
you guys get your
Underwhelmed.
thermometers from?
at the time, but I reckon I'm more than confident because I was on with Ross and John either the day he signed or it was muted that it was pretty much a done deal. And I think at the time it's the chat was him or the young French boy for PSG. I think it was a wee 19-year-old guy that was talking 5-6 million for him.
He went to
And
Sunderland.
did he? Just shows you.
Meet you or something?
That's the one. I think I just shows you
Yeah.
Like at the time, as I said, I was underwhelmed by the signing Anthony. Probably a wee bit of me down to the fact that it was, like I say, it's Aaron Moy and no Michu. Wasn't a fancy name, was it? It's one of them. Ross will back me up. I'm a sucker for a fancy name on a player. So, but what I did say is I totally understood the signing. It's Postecoglou didn't. It was a guy Postecoglou knew well. He knew a job, knew what he'd be able to do for him, and I think you can't not look at Moy this season and say he's not been a success. Have I just totally went silent? Or is that
No, sorry, you're absolutely bang on. Sorry, mate, I thought you were still going there.
All right, I don't know if you want to talk about Moy.
Anthony's trying to figure out how to get Mark Kearney's address.
What about yourself, Stephen? I know he's not your. I know he's not your favourite player, Stephen. But you've got to give him some credit for yesterday's performance and off the bench. Assist for the second goal. Come on, you know you want to.
I mean, to be fair, like Postecoglou's doing what he should have done with Moy, and he's like slowed him back in gradually, give him more minutes here and there. But when he started that game, I just thought that the other one, obviously against that lad, he wasn't that great. Obviously not up to speed, but last couple of games, especially, he's really come into it. He's kind of stifled the other team's midfield, breaking up play, doing what we were used to seeing Moy doing previously to his injury, kind of taking the onus on to find that killer pass. And come on, he was dying for someone to put it in the box. He was choking for someone to do it, and Moy done it with a great assist and a one-touch finish from another great goal. But I mean, I look at Moy and I do praise him. He's have to give me credit with this. I do praise him when he plays well. So he's been great the last couple of cameo appearances. But it's the same issue with me. Franley says underwhelmed. I was just like, why was signing this guy? Obviously, he showed it in bits and pieces, but again,
he's showed it in million bits and pieces, Stephen.
Again, for me, he'll be another one just saying his goodbyes at the end of the season. I don't think he'll be a part of it when you've got Awada, you've got Turnbull, you've got Hatate, you've got McGregor. So there's plenty of people who are going to be in front of him. But while he's been here, he's been fantastic, and to come on and just take that ball on the left hand side, just a wee dinked assist was just great. And that's the way Moy is. He's an attacking player with a used to have a great engine, more like a mid-engine now for Celtic, a wee bit slower now in his older years, but he can still do it when he has the time and stuff on the ball. And Jed Thomas, praise for gritted teeth. No, come on, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. But yeah, I've liked Moy when he shows what he can do, and I've hated him when he's been absolutely woeful. And I've said that, and it's a bit like Joe Hart. They've done their job while they're here. Joe Hart more so than Moy, in my opinion. And they've worn that Celtic shirt. They've got some trophies. They've got medals, and sometimes you have to cut them loose.
Oh well, we'll wait and see with bated breath what happens in the summer. I don't personally feel like I'm ready to say goodbye to Big Daddy Cool yet. Although, having said that, I have to. I'm not sure I'll be tuning in for his leaving interview, because it's for as much as I love him, he's not the most charismatic of individuals. Let's be honest. But Franny, like so many of the team, he was singled out for a wee bit of a tribute from the support in the stands. We'll just kind of round it off. Just fantastic scenes at the end of the game when the league was won, obviously. The boys all got on this T-shirt, which I'm modelling tonight, and went up and took their applause for the travelling support. First of all, it was a team, and then fantastic interview from Ange to the Sky Sports team. And then just when we thought that was going to be terrific, we've seen these amazing scenes outside Celtic Park last night. I think the estimate was about 9,000-10,000 there to welcome the guys home. And I think Ross summed it up perfectly in the group chat where he says, you know, your young guys in the team, like your Johnsons, your Moyes, not your Moyes, sorry, your
Talk young,
your Jotas.
Jesus.
I've got a Moy on the brain. Your Jotas, your Johnsons. These guys are, you know, it's very much early on in their careers. But you even got the vibe that, you know, just when they've seen themselves looking out at these scenes, that they might know that they might go on to bigger things is the wrong word. There's very few clubs in the world bigger than Celtic, but we know what we mean, if you know, whether to move down south or abroad or things like that. But it looks, even for now, that they're fully aware that they're possibly not going to get this kind of level of love and adoration that they currently get from us in the stands. I mean, there's a great connection at the moment between the players and the supporters, and long may that continue.
Oh, totally. But see, totally, to quickly go back in your previous question, because me and Stephen both totally ignored O. I think he could be a special play for us coming up. Like, he's still a young laddie. What has it done? Like, had to do his that service thing, the military service thing, and all that. He's a very raw player. Very raw. I know he's 21, but probably in football age, he's not 21. He's probably a wee bit less mature than that. So I mean, when you see performances like yesterday and that, and things he can do, I think we've got a special talent. And that I said it in the group chat as well. Klinsmann doesn't turn up at Rugby Park if you're a bad player to come and watch it. If Klinsmann believes in him, I think we could have a special player there. But on the celebrations yesterday, just it's absolutely brilliant. I think they had celebrations like that last season after. I think they had celebrations like that, obviously, after the midweek game when we won at Dundee United. Obviously, I don't know what the crowd was there. It probably wasn't 9,000-10,000. It's probably a wee bit better, more easier to get that sort of a crowd there at early evening yesterday anyway. But we were all saying in the group chat we wish we went and stuff, just watching the videos. But I just seeing all that, like you say, guys like Jota and that, I was waxed lyrical enough about Jota. I think he might.
Did you see his Instagram post with the steward?
I think he's one of them that will stick around for a wee while, unless a silly offer comes in where maybe a bigger team in the EPL or in Europe, maybe a Benfica come back in for him. And obviously we know I'm assuming he's a Benfica fan anyway, so that might pull at the heartstrings a wee bit. But I think he's one that might hang around. I think he really, like we say, gets it, and he sees all that, and I think he appreciates that. I think some of the guys like your Maedis, Hatate, and that might even, I think maybe as a cultural thing, they might appreciate it a lot and will hang around for a wee while. But it was absolutely brilliant. Like Postecoglou, just the whole champions again and stuff. We've said it enough about the guy. We know what it is. You've seen his interview after that. It was bang on the money again. He knows what to say, when to say. He's a very emotional guy. He knows what to say and stuff. And I think a lot of folk will say, "Oh, he's Celtic minded and that." And I don't know if he's Celtic minded. I think that's just try to be a wee bit fancy, a wee bit intelligent, saying, "Oh, he's Celtic minded." Just look at Celtic's history and that. Nobody cares. If Mourinho was in there, you wouldn't be going, "Oh, I don't want Mourinho because he's no Celtic minded." You want a good manager at your football club first. I certainly do. First and foremost, I want a good football manager. I don't care if he's Celtic minded. It's probably beneficial to us that Postecoglou probably isn't. And the guy's just a good guy at heart. It's not that he's Celtic minded. He's just a sound guy. He's a
normal fucking human being. He's normal.
Sorry to drop it, but he's a sound cunt at the end of the day.
Yeah.
He just is. He's just a sound guy at the end of the day, and he just knows what to say. He's always thinking about the right people. I mean, we've said it many times. After that 3-0 game last season, how his first thing talking about the game, he didn't praise the players, didn't look for praise for himself. He just went, 60,000 fans have turned up the day with potentially other things on their mind, stresses of home life or whatever it was. And for 90 minutes, hopefully we've managed to take that away for them. It's the level of the guy, and I think that's why a lot of us are just, we hang on every word. Certainly, I know. Well, we know Willie does. He's for day dot like question, like maybe quite. I don't know if questioned that is
No,
the right thing,
literally
but
from day dot. Literally from
but
day dot.
Willie was a wee bit open minded when he came in, than certainly me and Stephen would that day. But for the minute he talked, Willie has been on him and just saying that he was totally comforting him, and he's an absolute fantastic manager. We've all said that we've never wanted. It's weird saying we've never wanted a manager to be any more successful or be as successful, but I think we need to cherish Ange. I think he'll stick around for a wee while. I just think he's a good guy first and foremost, and you see that in the players he brings in, and I think that's how he's obviously an intelligent man. The way he treats the media and stuff, though, they're constantly trying to trip him up, but it's just I absolutely adore the guy. He's playing absolutely fantastic football. He's got his winning things, which is the important thing at the end of the day, and it's just the icing on the cake that gets the type of money is.
Yeah, I'll very much second that, mate. And Stephen, just your own thoughts on the incredible scenes yesterday, both at Tynecastle and back at Celtic Park. And I suppose as well, just what Franny's saying there about Ange, it's quite fitting that it's almost his journey. Well, we hope it's certainly going to continue, but in terms of the opponents that he's faced at Celtic, it sort of came full circle. His first competitive match was away at Hearts, where we lost 2-1, one of the very few defeats that he's had as Celtic manager. Hugh Keevins, gloriously the next day in the paper said Ange, as it's short for absolutely not good enough, and tipped Celtic to finish third last season. We know how that finished up, but to complete back-to-back titles with a win at the very ground where he suffered a defeat on his opening competitive match, it's quite fitting.
Yeah, just before I address that, I want to just come to the comments. Mark Kearney, spot on, Franny. A non-Celtic man will manage with emotion, and that's what we need. We don't need our managers getting involved with football politics like Lenny. Sam Fran, one more year from Rio, hopefully. Street shitter, fucking yes. Paul Dad's confident for 10 in a row under Ange. Kevin 14, Ange and Celtic are his perfect job. And for me, the celebrations, it's one of these things, and I looked at, you compare it to previous teams, and it's like maybe like under Rodgers, it was more kind of refined, but do you know what I mean? More professional. But these players are getting into it. Kyogo was singing the Celtic song. Did you see that clip? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? Joe Hart getting involved with the fans, talking to them in the Celtic way. Greg Taylor, who would have thought when he first came in, he'd be a Celtic hero at left back. We all didn't think he would make it, especially me, but fuck, he's proved me wrong. You look at Colin McGregor, 5 trebles. He could potentially win as captain. Well, captain now, obviously, which is fantastic. And what a team! It's the connection that I love. I mean, we talked about the boardroom before in the COVID year. Yeah, in the back of my mind, I still haven't forgot what they've done. But see at the moment, see it at this right precise moment, I'm just loving the Celtic Football Club, the team, Postecoglou, the recruitment. Fucking even John Kennedy and Gavin Strachan. I mean, they're all getting praise. Like, and I was going to say what I was going to say about Postecoglou, but I might keep it under wraps because I feel like I would kind of maybe dampen the end of a podcast. But it's just the adulation of the support. Did you see the unique angle that Celtic put up today? And it literally just looked like the fans were on, as you said, Franny, at the start, on top of them. Do you know what I mean? With the cameras and stuff, it was just fantastic. And Cal McGregor calling all the players over for a photograph, just to be noticed for the support. They all know what this means to us, and we know what it means to them. And Postecoglou said it himself in the Celtic way: the most important people's us. We plough our money every year into the team, especially Anthony. He was 6 o'clock in the morning. He was at the superstore getting that top. They buy the season tickets. They're out from renewal. I'm sure they're going to be bought up, and the waiting list will get bigger. Merchandise, Asia, we're going to be going there, new fan base, and it's just an incredible time to be involved and to watch this team grow. And yeah, Ange Postecoglou, whether he's here or not for the long haul, but while he remains here, he's an absolute icon. For me, he's already a legend. What he's done, He took us from the absolute dumps that we were in after Lenny and that 10-in-a-row season, turned around the squad within half a year, and we went on to win the league. And we took it the next year after that, and we steamrolled the league, and one league defeat, by the way. And we're on course to break the points record from Rodgers. We're on course to break the goals record, and Kyogo broke 30 goals. Jada's got 26 goal contributions from out wide. Do you know what I mean? Dyson Mieda's an absolute Duracell bunny. It's just incredible. And as I said to you there, I mean, if he's here another year, if he's here 10 years, Postecoglou for me he's a man, he's a legend, he's just incredible. And he's bought into us, we've bought into him, and as Mark said, he does it without the emotion, which is key. He knows where to take us, and he knows where he's going next, and hopefully that's staying with us for another year.
Oh, here's something for a lot longer. Fingers crossed, as I say. But you're bang on, Stephen. I don't think he'll have to put his hand in his pocket if he's ever down the Brazen Head with Jota. I don't think. There'll be more than a few folk prepared to get him a wee drink on the house. But in terms of the show tonight, guys, that's pretty much it. How have you enjoyed reminiscing about yesterday?
It's always good. Always good when you're talking about. I mean, feels like I'm known for the big ones. I've hosted twice after we beat Rangers, and them on talking about after we won the league. I just turn up for the big games.
Oh, I hope you're hosting next Monday as well, then.
It's fantastic, and just talking about them, the feel good factor. So I mean, obviously we all know we have to be realistic in some things that we say, but again, you can't really doubt this team and what they've done in domestic football. European football's another level. We'll probably get to it next season. We'll talk about that in the future. But just to reminisce about winning the league again.
Stephen.
100%, Franny. I'm with you, mate. You know, I'm trying to hold back what I'm saying. But it's just incredible. Loving it.
It's absolutely brilliant, boys. And as I said, thanks again to everyone for getting involved in the show tonight. And it's just been absolutely fantastic. Stephen giving us the crowd numbers tonight. It's absolutely brilliant. As I say, if you are liking what you are listening and seeing along, just word of mouth. That's the way we'll get about. Just hit that little subscribe button and the bell notification. That'll let you know any time that we're live. We've got, hopefully, this has been a good night tonight, reminiscing about our back-to-back league championship, securing it. But of course, we hope there's a few more good days to go before the curtain gets drawn on this season. Hopefully, a world record-breaking season. But in terms of tonight, that's it from us. Thanks again, folk, and I will hand you over to the captain of this ship for the famous outro. Hail, hail, and God bless.
Hail, hail, and God bless is right. But until Friday, stay well and keep safe and keep drinking. That my joke. Hail, hail.